The Bedroom Producing Podcast, Season 1, Episode 8. Welcome to the Bedroom Producing Podcast. If you're a bedroom producer and you want to release tracks, perfect your workflow, or explore a new creative process, then this is the podcast for you. Today's guest is Jake Stevenson from Pennsylvania. Jake is going to take us into the fascinating world of Vaporwave music. He's going to discuss collaborating with vocalist Celestic. And lastly, he's going to talk about how he found inspiration for his soundtrack style of writing from an online community. Jake, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you, man. It's great to finally connect.
Yeah.
So, hey, man, I'd love it if you can give me just like the kind of 2-minute version of sort of your musical background and how you got started in music and as a bedroom producer.
I remember waking up one morning, like early April 2018, like literally overnight, like, oh, I want to make music. Like it was literally like an overnight decision. And like, I had already had experience for a couple years prior to that of like making like ripped mashups and edits and stuff. Like I think literally my old SoundCloud still exists from like 2015 of like a few edits or whatever, but they're really bad, but they all have more plays than my own now. Still, I don't even know how, but like I literally woke up one day, I was like, I want to make music.
Awesome.
And like, yeah, it was basically just from there. 2018, I made my first couple songs. I have yet to release them, but they're going to be on an upcoming album of mine because that album is basically a time capsule at this point. 2019 was kind of hard because there was a lot of writer's block and a lot of stuff, and I didn't know how my brain operated quite yet. And I've come to realize that I have a really unorthodox production style. It's like nothing, like I can't be, level up and lock myself in a studio for 10 hours. It's really weird and unorthodox. And then I've just been making a bunch of music. Like somehow I haven't had writer's block in like 2 years almost, because it's like I don't even know what happened. But my musical background, I basically grew up listening to music. Although I'm kind of a sheltered background, so like everyone else was listening, hip hop, and I'm still trying to get into hip hop. I grew up listening to a lot of alt rock, like Imagine Dragons, 21 Pilots, Fall Out Boy. Movies also was a huge thing and has a huge influence on my work. So Hans Zimmer, Harry Gregson Williams are both huge influences on my World Problem songs. Video game music as well. Cash Cash, for example, their remix for Sonic Generations for City Escape Classic was really good. Just a bunch of different stuff that like, and then as I got older, I played Black Ops 2. I got into Jack Wall and Brian Toohey, and then 2013 I first played Forza Horizon, and that basically I've heard of electronic music beforehand because Calvin Harris, Avicii, Swedish House Mafia was popular on the radio for years beforehand, but that was the first time that I got introduced to this is electronic music, this is something completely new you've never heard of, and fell in love with the Bass Arena soundtrack in that game. And got introduced to electronic music, absorbed the scene for 6 years until I went to my first rave in 2019. Feed Me in Philly with Teeth. That was really good. And basically, I just started combining everything because once I knew, I know I can do stuff in GarageBand. At least I can make stuff. It's just been a process of finding inspirations and kind of combining influences and stuff.
Yeah.
So most of the music that I make now, my World Problem stuff is very movie soundtrack, like cinematic inspired. I think I literally sampled Jack Wall and Hans Zimmer at one point. A bunch of different like huge cinematic stuff over there that has gotten really well received when I play it out. Part of what music that I make is Vaporwave, kind of like an electronic micro genre, but also as a genre in its own with its own subgenres. I could talk forever about that.
I'm not familiar with that. Please do. Tell me what Vaporwave is.
Most people aren't. It's really, oh my God, there's so many videos on it. I could talk about it forever, but it's kind of like, it started out kind of as like part meme music, part like capitalistic celebration and criticism, part plunderphonic resampling of other songs, part recontextualizing different. Like it's oh my god. So like what I do, for example, the vaporwave that I make, my first album, Recovery. Let's use that as an example. I was in the hospital for a couple of weeks, for a couple or a few weeks, in August of last year for double corrective jaw surgery, and I had the music channel on while I was in the hospital, and it was playing smooth jazz. I took those smooth jazz songs and repurposed them, recontextualized them, slowed them down, chopped them up, add reverb, add effects, switch around different things, reverse some things, and basically make something new out of them. That's kind of what, like, you've heard the term plunderphonics. That's kind of what that is. It's basically like sampling, but like taking it to more logical extremes. So my first album, Recovery, was 8 different songs that I of vaporwave that I made, of 8 different songs that I first heard in the hospital. And making that album was kind of like, it helped me recover from that hospitalization.
Now, that's really interesting. Just as a side note for the audience, I'm not a lawyer, so I can't give you any legal advice on sampling or remixing another person's work. But I think it's cool that you had this life event that kind of inspired you to make music.
Yeah, well, like, it inspired me to like make music in the context of, I want to actually release this. Like, I think Recovery was my first release on Bandcamp, my first album released on Bandcamp. Um, Earlier that May, technically my first actual release ever. Like, I've released stuff on SoundCloud like 2018 and stuff when I was making stuff, but nothing like as a purposeful of like, oh, I want to actually reformat this. I want to be an artist. This is like a Jake Stevenson work. Um, the first release I had was on Bandcamp around the time of George Floyd's death, to like help raise profits for like the Minnesota Freedom Fund and stuff. Was 3 tracks from World Problems, what would eventually become my album. It was like May 2020, late May 2020, was 3 tracks off of my World Problems album. It was 3 tracks, and I just kept adding tracks onto the EP on Bandcamp because I didn't know how far this album would go. And then once I had the actual like, oh, I can just keep doing this with these concepts and stuff, then it became like a whole 15-track album. And then November 2019, when I was like, oh, now I can really push this concept to the extreme. I can just make a billion songs out of this concept because now I know what I'm doing. Now that's the album that's going to come out, is like a sequel re-release album, World Problems Lightbringers. I just ordered the double CD cases for it, and I have the actual CDs right in front of me. The original, I guess, World Problems album, it was September 4th, 2020. It was my second album, like literally 3 days after Recovery. I do everything myself, so I don't really know what I'm doing. I worked with like Bandcamp labels and stuff before.
Yeah.
But it's mostly me. It's very haphazard. I don't know what I'm doing. If I want to release something, I'll just release it. Like, I'll probably get off this podcast, and then I'll probably, like, if I'm feeling it, I'll probably just release another single from Problems Lightbringers in like, I don't know, like a couple hours or something. I don't know.
Well, one of the things I noticed, in a digital world, you did say that you're chosen to print some actual CDs. What led you to that decision?
Because I love physical media. I think I literally grew up. One of the first reading experiences I had when I was like really little, I was like 3 or something, was I was reading the back of a VHS tape, like slip-on cases. Like, I've loved physical media for forever. I grew up watching like the bonus features of like The Incredibles and like different animated movies, and I grew up, having like my own like mini like DVD collection. And once I got older and got more into music, I started having my own CD collection, which I still have. That's one of the few things I kept from my old house, was all my CDs. I just love physical media, and that translated well into my eventual love for vaporwave, because that's kind of the whole like bringing back that like nostalgia of like physical medias, because vaporwave is very heavy on like selling it on CDs, cassettes. I have my own cassette collection now. things. So it was really natural. I already have these CDs from when I was making my own mixtapes. Of just like stuff that I bought on iTunes. And now that I'm making my own music and I still have these CDs, it was only natural to be like, oh, okay, I can just go on Amazon, buy, double CD cases, and then just sell them myself. I'll figure out how to do like the shipping and the stuff later, because it should be pretty not not easy, but like pretty easy, because I've technically like done shipping stuff before. It's just time consuming.
Mhm.
But it was really natural to be like, oh, I love physical media. I already make music that like is like captures on physical media. I already have released other albums via labels on physical media. I have physical media. Why not just release them? Um,
Yeah. Yeah,
so
no, that's cool. There's something about physical media. I mean, having it and holding it in your hand.
yeah,
I'm a huge fan of the band Tool, and I remember. I mean, this was a while ago, but I remember. I mean, they always put a ton of effort into the physical releases of their product. And if you look at like the 10,000 Days album, for instance, you go back. I mean, that CD that came with it, I mean, it was like this thick cardboard, and it had these like crazy, like I don't know, like these crazy goggles almost or something that you could like look through with it. I mean, they always did all kinds of crazy stuff with their albums. So yeah, that's really interesting. Since we do live in such like a heavily digital world, vaporwave itself, so a lot of it is about kind of taking songs and repurposing, kind of repurposing or remixing is kind of the
yeah.
context that I got from you.
That's
Are there any particular sonic elements that are typical of it? Like I noticed a lot of your music is very orchestral, and
that's
some.
yeah. That's definitely my movie video game soundtrack. That's like the Jack Wall and like Hans Zimmer in me. That's definitely like the movie and video game upbringing that I had. I think I literally sample some parts off of Jack Wall's songs from Black Ops 2. Like those you can probably hear like one or two samples in there. And I've definitely got more on the new album as well, because I can't help myself, but I also can't like recreate the sound quite. And I already have it. It's like, well, it's already in my head as this sound. So I'll just sample it, screw it, whatever. Um, yeah. So like this, I guess the style, I guess that I've been talking about that I do is like, I guess like classic sample of the vaporwave, because for the early years of vaporwave, especially like 2011, 12, 13, that's basically what it was. And it was a huge influx of people like, oh, all I can do is take 80s smooth jazz songs and slow them down, and I have vaporwave. And so like there was a lot of like a huge influx of, it was like a flood of content, because everyone like, oh, that's how you do it. Okay, well then let's just do it. So it's now been sort of recontextualized. I still do it because I have fun doing it. But it's definitely, vaporwave has definitely had its own subgenres. It's had its own style. Like classic sampled vaporwave is definitely not like the only style. Like if anything, it itself is going out of style. Like there's like dreamy ambient called slush wave. There's like vapor trap. There's future funk, which sounds like Madeon on steroids almost. Like there's so many. I could probably go. There's signal wave, which is like sampling like old like commercials and like and like forecastings and weather channel samples, and it's so much. Like there's mall soft, which is like trying to approximate like the background soundtrack to a mall. There's so much stuff that it's actually kind of insane. It's like it's not just like taking songs and slowing them down anymore. It's like this whole blossoming thing. Um,
So is the concept, is part of it to take the song, slow it down, make it more ethereal? Is that sort of the concept?
it's to make it more of whatever the artist wants it to be. It's to make it more, I guess, unique. Whether melancholic, depressing. Another a vaporwave EP that I'm working on is like taking like old stuff, like the songs or like stuff from my childhood, or like samples from my childhood, and like recontextualizing them so that I feel good about it, because I feel bad about my childhood. Like it wasn't. It's I look back on it and it's not fun. So like it's like my aim for this EP is to like make it like so like recontextualize it so that I feel like better about my childhood. Like there's a bunch of different names for everybody. There's a bunch of different labels. If you go on Bandcamp, you can find so much. There's so many labels and so many artists that I could literally go through my cassette collection and like there's probably something new. Like there's a bunch of different labels, bunch of different artists and styles. Like I don't even know how to describe it. Like Vaporwave is like it's mostly nostalgia based. Even when you're not taking a song and recontextualizing it, or even when you're not sampling anything, even if there's nothing like directly involved, like with like most slush wave, like there's no samples or anything. It's mostly sample free. There's no like a direct nostalgia element. It's not trying to be like something like it's not trying to be like the background soundtrack to a Kmart or something. Even when you have that, it makes you feel almost longful. It's kind of like the concept of high wraith, where you like long for a home that might not have even really existed or that's not even there, but you still long for it regardless. That concept, I mean, it was first introduced in Vaporwave a long time ago with Catcore, but I think that concept still pervades almost everything because whether it's, I think Sky Too High's Onset of Winter, where it's literally just like it approximates like a drive in a wintry day or something like it. Almost everything makes you like either paint some sort of picture because Vaporwave paired with visuals and physical media creates this sort of feeling. There's just a lot to it. Like it's actually kind of insane. It's definitely one of the more like robust genres because on the one hand, it's technically like a micro genre of electronic music, and then it's also its own genre, and then it also has like a billion subgenres. And then every subgenre has like labels, and then every label has like a billion artists, and artists do different styles, and like, but it's all vaporwave. Like it's kind of insane. Like to dismiss it as a meme or to dismiss it as a sample fest would be grossly understating and also misrepresenting the point. And I don't even know what the point actually is really almost. Like it's grown so much, even just in the last few years. It's insanity.
Well, I think, the point is if it's music that you like or it expresses yourself, that's kind of the point to me.
Yeah.
That's how I think. That's how I think of it. I mean,
yeah.
I think that there's music out there for everybody.
Exactly.
Everybody's got their story to tell, and it's it's kind of about how do you want to express yourself.
Exactly. Like that's kind of been my like goal almost. Like I still have ideas that I want to bring out. I still have, concepts that I want to explore musically. I still have, like memories and stuff in areas of like my past where I want to like try to recontextualize them in a better light for me. Just different stuff like that. Yeah.
Tell me a little bit more about that. I mean, you alluded to some issues in your childhood and just like these sounds like some different things in your life that are inspiring the music. How do you relate the music to these experiences that you've had?
So I guess my first album, Recovery, was like the songs that I was, hearing on the music channel while I was in hospitalization. And then I sampled those songs and made some classic sampled vapor out of them. My second album was World Problems. That's orchestral. That's not vaporwave. That's a completely different thing. But that's a huge thing nonetheless. My third album was Local Channels, a split album I did with a VHS Spectre, inspired by one of my favorite vaporwave artists, Asu Tenki. He does Signal Wave, which is like recontextualizing and sampling Japanese commercials and different things to create. It's all about creating feelings, basically. But my third album was a split album, Local Channels, which like was like inspired by Asu Tenki, and then later the cassette release that happened like 2 months ago, literally like did so well. It charted on Bandcamp alongside Asu Tenki. Like I was really happy with that. But that was like, that was a vaporwave of like trying to like not emulate like feelings, but emulate like music and emulate feelings that others' music has given me. So that was basically like a giant love letter to one of my favorite producers. The EP that I'm working on, it's called Identity. I'm taking different songs from throughout my childhood and throughout different points. Like there was a family move that didn't actually turn out to be a move, but then it did, but in a warped way that like really, really messed with me. Around 2015, I got into, I listened to Imagine Dragons' Smoke and Mirrors album a lot because that was the album that was getting me through this horrible move that was wreaking hell on me. And then now I sampled a Smoke and Mirrors song on the Identity EP. I grew up, I was like 10, 11, 12. One of my first Wii games was Sid Meier's Pirates. And then take, ocean samples from Sid Meier's Pirates and put them into a song. Like, I'm just trying to do unique stuff. I'm trying to do stuff that, like, with the Identity EP specifically, I'm trying to do things that, like, take my childhood and, like, recontextualize it, because even memories that should be good aren't when I look back on them for some reason. And it's definitely like it's definitely of other, because of other events that have happened that have really messed with me. So I want to try to, like, recontextualize them and try to make them, like, good, like still good. One of the other songs on the album is, I take a Super Mario Galaxy song and then loop it and sample it and cut it and deep stretch it and de-pitch it and like, so that it's just, for me, it's about, if I have an idea or if I have a feeling I want to explore, if I have a memory that I haven't touched yet, it's easy for me to help myself with that through Vaporwave, because I can directly sample and directly reference that, and I can use that as instrument of healing.
I love that. I love that. That's great. For equipment and gear, what do you like to use?
Literally this laptop that I'm using right now. That's it. I have a MacBook Pro 2019, I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
I literally I don't sing on my songs because I don't like to sing. I've only sang on one song that I haven't released yet, but I'm going to.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't want to, like, edit it because I hate the sound of my voice. So shitty lyrics is what you'll get. But I literally have this MacBook Pro with, the built-in camera that it has, with the built-in microphone it has, with the built-in speakers it has. That's what I've been using for forever. My really old songs, like 2018 songs, I made on a Mac Mini that's somewhere behind me that I don't use anymore because someone tried to tap into it and hack it, and, like, they succeeded, and then it was this whole thing. But, like, I managed to get everything off of it, so I don't use it anymore. But I've just been using this for actual, like, for a digital audio workstation. I used GarageBand for a long time, and then I technically still have Ableton Live 9 Suite because it's on the Mac Mini behind me. But I tried to use it for I tried to use it for like 2 years, watching a bunch of tutorials, trying to make a bunch of songs, making a bunch of whips and remixes, and I hated every minute of it. It was hell. Like, I did not get better. I don't think I made anything. I think I made maybe one thing on there that was, like, passable, that I somewhat liked. And then I realized that, like, oh, whichever DAW you use, like, is basically a matter of personal preference. I just switched back to GarageBand, and within the week, I'm, like, making new songs. It was literally simple, like, oh, I just need a UI change, and I'm good. And it was. Everyone will tell you that, like, oh, do you use Ableton or FL? Like, screw those guys. Like, no. Whatever DAW you use is it is a matter of personal preference. Like,
absolutely,
find whatever like workaround, or find whatever UI or whatever process is conducive to great work for you. Like, basically, my entire MO is finding workarounds for everything, because my brain is weird and it doesn't like process stuff normally, and, like, I don't operate like a normal human. So, like, of course I use GarageBand and Logic, and I, do the XYZ, and, like, my process is, like, completely, like, not what anyone else does, and, like, it's just like, nah. So,
hey,
like,
sometimes you gotta let that weird flag fly, man.
Well, that's kind of like, I always have to have it, because, like, there's kind of no other option at this point. My production process is, my Vaporwave stuff is my Vaporwave stuff. Vaporwave is finding a sample for me, is finding a sample and then figuring out what to do with it. That's kind of, like, separate. But my production process for, the 2 dubstep songs I made, and for, like, my World Problem stuff, like, for my all original stuff, my production process is literally, I don't make anything until a song idea pops into my head. And if a song pops into my head and I don't recognize it, I sprint to my laptop, make it in. I've made a song in as little as half an hour, sometimes as much as 3 or 4 hours. But 90% of the time, all my original stuff is done in one sitting.
So that's how I was able to make 26 new World Problem songs in 21 days from
Wow.
like November 2020, because I always like make songs in one sitting. But like, so like I have to have an idea. If I don't recognize it, I'd make it. But then if I don't make it fast enough, the idea fades. So like I tried to make like a remix of one of my own songs, my collab with Melly Melody, Digital Embrace. I tried to make like a melodic bass, like a VIP of it, and couldn't make it fast enough, and the idea was gone. So now it's just a half done project sitting forever that I'll never be able to finish because then by then the idea is gone. It's kind of like if you want to like write lyrics for a song and you have the lyric but you don't bother to write it down, the second you like begin to forget it, it's gone and you can't get it back. That's basically what it is for me, except for like production.
I like that. Yes.
Most all of my World Problem songs were done in each in a day, in like a few hours, maybe. Well, I'm gonna say average of like a couple hours actually. But the drawback with that is tutorials confuse me, terms fly by me. I don't know half of what anybody that I know is talking about. Um, I have Vital that I've been trying to slowly incorporate, that I think I used a couple times in my new World Problems tracks, maybe like once or twice.
This
And
is
like,
a new freebie synth, isn't
yeah,
it?
the new freebie
Yeah.
set. Yeah. And I
Yeah.
tried to watch tutorials for it, and the guy was it was the first video, and it was so confusing. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna turn knobs randomly. Screw it. Like I'm messing. Screw the tutorials. Like screw it. Like I don't do. I don't know what it is. I basically I'm trying to accept at this point that I can't operate like other people, and I can't operate like my artist friends. So like, I mean, it's kind of almost expected that I don't like do things like them. I'm trying to turn it into a positive, basically. But yeah, no, like, if it's not Vaporwave, and if it's not, well, like Skeleton Dome and Skeleton Dome VIP took me the entire month of October 2020 to make, because that was the weird instance of like step at a time, like the usual thing that everybody does, and like actually like methodically like going through. Because I also did all the mixing and mastering myself, which is probably why if it sounds sorry, because I did it myself. But I think that was the one time where like I was able to do anything other than on something original, anything other than like make it quick, because that's how long the idea is going to last. That's also why I'm not good with remixes or collabs, because I don't do like I don't have many whips that I send out to people, because if it's a whip, the chances are that I'm not happy with it, because it's incomplete, and because it's not an idea that I like. It's not like I don't like make beats and send them out to people. If it's a beat, I turn it into my own song.
Mm-hmm.
Remixes are hard. The remix I did, the Money Machine 100 Gex remix I did, I'm assuming that's the outlier at this point, because that's some of my best work. Like that's literally, I think that's making that remix was the most fun I've had making any piece of music or anything original ever. Why
was that? Why was that?
I don't know. The song is really fun. Maybe it's because I listened to the original and my remix back to back, and I unironically consider my remix to be better. I love playing it out. I love making it. I love listening to it. It's not like anything super complex. Like I don't even think I did anything original, like composition or production wise. I think I literally just took everything existing, like all the existing stems, and then just reworked. And like, as far as remixes go, that's definitely the outlier, because that's like one of the best things I've ever done, the most fun I've ever had making music. And then now I'm trying to make other remixes, and it's like really, really hard. I actually just did a remix. Not just, I had it done for like 2 weeks now, but Anna Yvette, her song Waves, she just had a remix competition. Actually, she still has it. It's still going on for a few more days. But I did a remix of Waves by Anna Yvette, made it like Vaporwave style, because I didn't have any other ideas. And then I got really sad, and then I used that sadness to make it a Vaporwave song. But I mean, she liked it. She listened to it, and she told me she liked it. I need to go back and listen to what she said, because I was too depressed, because no one else everyone else everyone else hated it. Like I could tell, like everyone was like not vibing with it at all. But like I'm proud of it, and at least she likes it. So that's the thing. Maybe I should release it on my SoundCloud. I don't know. I need to give it a few days because, like, I don't know. But I might do that eventually because that's the only other remix. Actually, no. I took Nascence by Austin Wintory from the video game Journey, and I like did like an edit of it. That's the one thing that I've done in Ableton successfully was that remix.
It's a beautiful song. Yeah.
I emailed it to Austin Wintry and he emailed me back. He's like, yeah, I can tell you put a lot of work in this. Like, I like this. Great job.
That's impressive.
I think that might be the first instance of like Austin Wintry likes my remix and I hate it. Like, I don't know what's wrong with me.
Wow.
But I think it might still be on my SoundCloud. Maybe I didn't put it up at all. I don't know. But I don't want to, like, copyright's weird and SoundCloud's weird. So I think I might have taken it off. I don't know. But I don't know. So remixes are hard, collabs are hard, which is why the collabs that I do make are like are stuff that I'm proud of.
Yeah, one of my favorite tracks of yours is called "Late in the Night" with someone called Celestic.
Yes,
that was so good. That's so good. Tell me about it.
Thank you. So that's one of the World Problems songs. World Problems has like a whole mythos behind it. It has this whole lore, literally years and years of built up lore that I've had a hand in making, but there's dozens of other people that I'm friends with. We're on a Discord server, and it's this whole deal. And you can it's like we fashion it into Reddit posts, so you can literally you can go online and like find them. There's this whole interconnected story and all the links, like this, It's a huge thing. But basically, my huge like one of my producer, why can't I say that word correctly? Am I having a stroke? Producer missions is to take this World Problems metaverse, this whole online universe that's mainly on Reddit posts, and bring it to life. I want to make a soundtrack to this thing that has been a backbone of my life for forever now. Because I high school was hard, and the events outside of high school were even harder. And World Problems, making having my own character and posting in Reddit posts and doing character in all these different locations and stuff, like it saved my life. Ironically, saved my life. And I want to repay that. I want to take this World Problems universe and bring it to life. I want to make a soundtrack for it. I'm not, claiming this is the canon soundtrack. I'm not claiming, these are the themes for these characters and these locations. Like I'm not doing that. I'm doing my vision to try to make it as accurate as possible for this weird little universe that my buddies and I, the World Problems crew and I have come to know and love.
So just to make sure I understand correctly, World Problems is a Reddit forum?
It's a bunch of Reddit forums.
It's a bunch of Reddit forums called World Problems.
The main hub for like this meta discussion of it is called World Problems. My World Problems stuff is the sound. Whenever I read World Problems posts, because they all follow arcs and they all follow stories built over years. Whenever I go back to reread them, a movie plays in my head. And that's why it's so easy for me to make World Problems songs, because I literally take the song that's playing alongside the movie in my head and make it.
Cool.
My World Problems songs are the songs, it's the soundtrack to this online metaverse.
So you get some powerful visualization going on there with the creation of the music.
And it helps because, especially if you go old.reddit.com where all the CSS is still enabled, there's a lot of visual references and there's a lot of visual stuff in the locations. And because every subreddit is a different location in this world and everything, and there's visual references in different posts and different things. So it's very, very image heavy, and it's very good at leaving stuff to the imagination, but also creating like, this is what like this world looks like. So to answer your question, Late in the Night is a World Problem song. It like literally it is a track to a scene. It is like I made it alongside to be a song playing alongside when you read a certain Reddit post, as is all the other World Problems tracks that I've made. All 41, I think now, because World Problems Lightbringers, the album that I'm doing the CDs for, is like there's like a huge One Piece sized arc, with multiple different arcs, multiple stories and posts and stuff. It's like my like full soundtrack, I guess, for it. So it's the all 15 tracks of the original World Problems album, and then all the 26 new ones that I've made, that I've been gradually releasing. So Late in the Night is a World Problems track. I had an aim for it. I had a scene. I had like a very specific aim for it that I wanted to have. I came to Celestic as Twitter, because everything good is on Twitter. All the good connections are. And I don't even remember what happened or who came to who first, but we inevitably chatted because, we friendly. She's very friendly. She's very nice. And it's good that I, didn't offend her or anything with my weird brain, and we actually hit it off. But eventually the conversation came up because she did the vocals. Celestic is the vocalist. You might know her on there's a Dion Timmer song called Insane. That's if you know her from any track, that's the track. So I don't even remember, but I guess I'm just going to say that I asked her, and I was like, "Hey, can you do vocals for a song?" Because and I don't even know. I definitely didn't explain the lore. I didn't explain the scene. I didn't explain, oh, hey, it has to be this, and this. It has to be this lyrical aim. Write lyrics around this. I didn't say any of that. All I did was like, hey, I have this beat. Do you want to make vocals for it? And she was like, yeah.
So you had already done the music ahead of time.
I was like, oh, the song is called Late in the Night, and it's this whole thing that I'm not going to explain it to you. Here's the song. And she was like, oh, I actually have these vocals that I can rewrite a bit that perfectly fit this beat. I'll get back to you soon. And I want to reiterate, I did not explain anything to her about the scene, about the context, about the characters, about the anything. And she comes back with like the perfect, like, I didn't write her lyrics. Like, she did all of that herself with zero input, and somehow made the perfect song for the scene. It had to have been like some sorcery or something, because she like perfectly got like every undertone. She got like the context of what was going on. Everything is like it was the perfect lyrics, and it fit perfectly. And it was just like, okay, yeah, like that's perfect. Don't do any other takes. Just send me the stems. I'll arrange them, and then we're good. We're done. It was like mind blowing how, like, I honestly, I think, well, I chalk it up to Celestic's incredible prowess as a songwriter, as a lyricist, and as a singer. But I also chalk it up to luck, because it's almost too perfect. It's so good. I'm so proud of that song still.
Yeah, that's a great one.
It's so good.
Late in the Night with Celestic on the World Problems album. Yeah.
That, like all the other World Problems songs, are going to be re-released on World Problems Lightbringers, coming to CD hopefully this summer. It's going to be 2.5 hours long on double CDs, 41 tracks.
Wow.
Yeah. 15 of them is...
That's a big project.
But I don't know. That's how serious I am, because I want to take this universe that has shaped a staple of my life and have shaped others' lives, and I want to bring it to life. That's what, like, I just opened my own merch store on Teespring, and you'll notice that like half of the merch items are like World Problem stuff, and you won't get any of the context. There's masks with stuff that you don't know what they're talking about. The link descriptions are stuff and references that you won't get. But I'm making these items and designing these items for the purpose of bringing this universe to life. So like no one is supposed to understand what they are, but me and the World Problems crew, we get it.
World Problems Redditors will get it.
Yeah,
that's great though. You've got a niche. You've got a niche for your stuff. I like that.
The nichiest niche of them all.
They say that that's a good way to market in this era.
I love those guys to death. I love them to death. They're really good. But yeah, that's great, it's really like, if you're wondering, like, I don't get what that means, or that's an odd line to put in a merch description. You're not supposed to understand. Don't worry. I guess in a perfect world, what I would want to do is release like a mini magazine, or like a compendium or something that goes along track by track and just explains the entire story. I want to do that eventually, but if I wasn't, busy with school and busy with, production and busy with, and if I knew how to actually make a mini magazine and format it correctly, and if I actually had the persistence to write the whole thing out, because I have to recontextualize everything. I can't just copy paste. I have to reformat everything into this third person cohesive description / narrative. In a perfect world, I would do that so that people could understand. But that is for another day. That is for another day. That is not going to happen just yet. But hopefully that is something that I get to do in the future, because I just have to be careful with it and tread carefully with it, because I don't want to like explain something wrong. Like that's the thing. Like everything involved with the album, from the cassette's physical appearance to how the songs are, to can I use this as a title? Can I use this as the art? Can I use this as an art direction? Do I say this? Do I say that? Is this the descriptor I use? I ran everything by the World Problems crew.
I love that you have a community of people around you, and that you've created this niche that fits a theme and with the community.
I didn't create it. World Problems existed before me, and it will exist after me. I just joined in, and I'm the only one, making a soundtrack for it on this scale. And
yes, that's what I mean. I love that you fit in with your community.
I'm just one of the many people who came in and made a character and posted and helped shape this metaverse, but I did not create it. That's not me. That's other people that I don't want to name, or mostly because I might get them mixed around and confused. But
yeah, well, I think it's great that you're a part of that world, though.
It is. I'm trying, like, I guess in a perfect world, I would figure out how to get like what logo or whatever or saying to get tattooed on me, because it literally, I would not be here making music if it wasn't for World Problems. If it wasn't for this community of people who have just been so kind and gracious to me.
I love that. Well, big shout out to the World Problems Redditors for sure.
Shout out to the World Problems crew, man. You guys saved my life. Thank you.
Yeah, I love it.
You guys are the best.
I love it. Hey, man, I want to get wrapping up. I got just a couple questions I want to ask you before we finish up. Well, one thing I like to ask people is, how do you keep from getting stuck when you're writing? Like, if you kind of start and you've kind of got like a good concept, and maybe it's only like 8 or 16 bars, how do you keep going?
It's a toss of the dice for me, because if I either, it turns out to be a song, or it turns out to be just stuck at 16 bars for me. It's honestly just it's a roll of the dice. Something that I like to do production wise is have like a progressive aim to it, which helps with the whole cinematic skew of it. So like my World Problem stuff is very like everything builds on each other in a song. Sometimes I like to do that. Like most of them like started out from like 8 or 16 bars of a fully fledged concept. Then I'm like, oh, okay, I can rearrange it to do this, and I can introduce this like that and at this time and stuff. If anything, I guess the only thing that I would have done or do in that situation is like try to see if you can make this 8 or 16 bars like more of a fully fledged concept, and then separate it and break it down and smooth it out, and then try to see, how do I, do I let this play for X amount of bars, and like basically like make it more of a progressive type deal. But
I like that. Yeah. So start with like a big solid idea, make it fully realized in itself, and then build back up to it.
That's I think the thing that has helped me in that scenario, because it's like, oh, how do I do this without these bars, and then once you have then you can go back to the beginning, and then you can add on to it once you have that built up, and like I don't know, that's just something that's
that's great, man. How about if you're talking to somebody that just wanted to getting started in music production, what advice might you give them?
There are no defaults. Do not conform to the norms of production. There are always workarounds. There is always something you can do. Find whatever workarounds that you need to be conducive to creating. Not even good work, just creating, because that's kind of the name of the game. I literally started out, I think it was like 2015. The song, if you've heard Seeing the Sun off of the World Problems album, that song started out as a beat that I made in an in-browser DAW called Soundation back in like 2015. There was a very specific situation, and I couldn't download anything. So I was like, oh, I'll just make it in browser, and then I'll just do this and that. And I started doing it to SoundCloud, and like there's always going to be workarounds. If people ask you, oh, Ableton FL, do GarageBand if it makes you, if it's better for your work. If you want to go more basic, do an in-browser thing. If you want to like like if you tutorials don't matter, then try like messing with stuff, turn random knobs. Like that's how I use Vital anyway. So I need to do that more. But like there are always workarounds. Do not be discouraged that you cannot find a way. If it doesn't seem like there is a way, try, if you have any connections, you have any artist friends, as I've been lucky to have, maybe try asking them, get some different opinions. Mainly just like, don't think that there's any one way to do things. Even if, you think that, the way that you found is bad, if it's not, or if it's, not quite like anything else. That inevitably turns around to become something unique. The workarounds, if you find any, enables you to create something unique. Like that's World Problem started out as me making, my version of Jack Wall music, and it turned into this beautiful sort of like orchestral electronic hybrid of whatever, because now I basically have my own sound with that, because no one else really does it. So like, not started out because I didn't know how to do this thing on a DAW, or do this thing, or I wanted to actually do this instead, or like, oh, this is how you do it, I'm just going to do it this way. Like there is no one way to do things.
I love that. Yeah, it sounds like you have a lot of vision for your tracks, and so knowing that you kind of what you want to end up with, you can always find a workaround to get there as part of it. Sounds like what you're saying too.
What I lack in technicality, I make up for in vision.
I love it. I love it. I love it. It's so true, though. It's so true. A lot of the best producers have a fantastic vision for their work. So I love it. All right. Hey, Jake, thanks so much for being here today. Where can people find you and your music online?
I'm on streaming services like Spotify, Apple Music, and Bandcamp, etc. as Jake Stevenson. Twitter.com or whatever. _J_Stevenson. Not my first choice for username, but whatever, that's my music Twitter. I also have a virtual festival. I've done 3 of them called Night Days. You can find that on Twitter at Night Days Fest, DAZE. Twitter is how I do most of my stuff. That's the platform I'm most active on. Instagram is the Bass Bandito, like the 21 Pilots song. Yeah, mainly just Twitter, but I'm trying to get most of my back catalog and stuff onto Spotify and different stuff. I have a couple SoundClouds, but I don't really like to use them because I hate SoundCloud, but they're there. They exist. I have an Audience that I put my edits on. Bunch of different stuff. Linktree, if you know what Linktree is, /base_bandito. Bunch of different stuff. You can find me in a lot of different places. A lot of stuff lurking around.
We'll make sure to link it in the show notes. Jake, thanks again for being here, man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, man. This has been great.
One of the things I love about talking to Jake is that he's just like such a creative whirlwind, and he takes inspiration from so many different sources. And he's been able to use that throughout his life, especially in times where he was maybe struggling with something, and then take the music and process what he was going through and turn it into something positive for him. I just love that about his creative output. Guys, as always, I hope that you enjoyed the podcast. If you did, please be sure to subscribe. Also, keep in mind, you may learn more from the podcast by listening back to the episode and discussing some of the songs or topics with friends of yours who have a similar interest. Also, another resource you might find helpful is the reading list I have up on the website. It's bedroomproducing.com. Lastly, if you want to get in touch with me, hit me up on Twitter at Producer Chip. Until next time, my name is Chip, and this is the Bedroom Producing Podcast. Thank you for listening to the Bedroom Producing Podcast. For more content like this, visit bedroomproducing.com.